Once hailed as symbols of luxury and innovation, certain car features from the past concealed hidden dangers that were accidents waiting to happen. Can you recognize the car brand just by looking at the hood ornament? You may have gone over to see if it was loose. Have you ever noticed the turn signal of the car in front of you just kept on blinking? Did it confuse you? Would you let them know? These features, often prioritizing style over safety, could have led to more than a few fender benders. Here are 12 dangerous old car features that faded into history. Be sure to stick around for the last one, because sticking a TV in a car might have been a good idea decades ago, but be thankful the idea never took off. Hood ornaments. When you were a kid, did you ever try to tamper with a car's hood ornament? The hood ornament adorned the front of luxury automobiles like crown jewels, making them distinctive from ordinary vehicles and elevating a car's brand and prestige. Voice Motometer introduced the first functional hood ornament in 1912 as a radiator cap thermometer. While Rolls-Royce created the iconic Spirit of Ecstasy in 1911, we bet your father or grandfather wrote to Ford Motors when he was a kid asking for one of those red, white, and blue golden lion crests. They received them for free and proudly displayed them by affixing them to their caps, belts, or bicycles. Hood ornaments began disappearing in the late 1960s when safety advocates highlighted their dangers to pedestrians, drivers, and passengers. By the 90s, various considerations effectively ended them being a feature on luxury vehicles, as they could potentially become flying projectiles when cars were driven at high speeds. Modern safety solutions reduce risks with a spring-loaded feature or a retractable mechanism that activates upon impact.
You guys want to see how cold it was out last night? Let's see this. Oh, whoops.
Non-canceling indicators. With its rhythmic blinking, it lets your fellow motorists know what you're going to do. But what if you forget to turn them off? Non-canceling turn indicators were a revolutionary safety feature that standardized driving communication since the 1940s. They brought order to chaotic intersections and lane changes through clear visual signals. Before this innovation, you had to stick your arm out the window to signal to other motorists that you were making a turn. Buick introduced the first flash-way directional signal in 1939 Buick 8. It was in the center of the rear, left flashed Buick, and right flashed 8. You had to figure out what it meant. It created countless confusing situations. Drivers forgetting to cancel unwittingly misinformed others about their intentions. Hey buddy, turn off your blinkers! The self-canceling mechanism wasn't widely adopted until the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard No. 108 required all passenger cars made from 1973 onward to have them. Many decades indeed. Before this innovation, drivers relied on dashboard indicator lights with clicking sounds as reminders. Today's sophisticated indicators utilize electronic controls that calculate cancellation based on steering angle and the elapsed time. Metal dashboards. Feast your eyes on this beauty. Its polished surface reflected the era's love affair with all things chrome and metallic. Metal dashboard made every drive feel special. Packard was among the first to feature metal dashboards in the 1930s. These solid metal panels, often embellished with chrome accents, became industry standard until the 1960s, which equated shiny chrome with luxury. In the event of an accident, the car's interior could severely injure or cause fatal injuries. There was a push to make the automobile safer in the 50s. Padded dashboards, also known as dash pads, were available as an optional feature, but widespread adoption took another decade. The 1966 Highway Safety Act finally prompted the transition to padded dashboards. Today's dashboards contain multiple airbags and crumple zones designed to absorb impacts, a stark contrast to their metal predecessors. Greenhouse design. Remember the boxy look of cars, especially the slim pillars near vertical windshields and tall side glass? They were the greenhouse portion of the vehicle located above the beltline that guided design through much of automotive history. It prioritized visibility and openness, maximizing the amount of light entering the vehicle and even making compact cars feel spacious and airy. Studebaker pioneered this open greenhouse style in the late 40s with the 1947 Champion featuring exceptionally slim pillars. These design elements gradually disappeared in the early 90s as aerodynamic efficiency became crucial for fuel economy, and the influence of rollover protection standards prompted automakers to rethink their designs. In the event of an accident, the occupants in the vehicle were likely to be severely injured or crushed upon impact. Modern cars feature significantly thicker pillars that house reinforced steel crash structures and curtain airbags, with more steeply raked windshields that improve aerodynamics. No rear-view side mirrors. If you were driving a passenger in the 50s and not paying attention, you might have been told to keep your eyes on the road. However, without this feature, you had to keep your head on a swivel. For many decades, manufacturers celebrated the clean body lines of automobiles. The absence of the rear-view side mirrors maintained the uninterrupted streamlined profile. The first patent for a rear-view mirror was issued to Elmer Berger in 1921, and he called it the cop spotter. Driver's side mirrors were optional luxuries in the 1920s and 30s and remained a luxury add-on well into the 60s. Their absence stemmed from the driving culture of the time and the belief that drivers should physically turn to check their surroundings. Responding to mounting safety concerns, car manufacturers standardized driver's side mirrors in the mid-1960s, and passenger side mirrors became a standard only in the 70s. Remember the warning, objects in mirror are closer than they appear? Fun fact, the Ferrari Testarossa featured in Miami Vice in the 80s had only a driver's side rearview mirror.
You got no mirror. Stick the stick out the window. All right, gotta get to go.
Chrome-plated steel bumpers. They gave cars their distinctive face and personality that was no doubt vintage. Chrome-plated steel bumpers were the robust protective armor that defined automotive styling while shrugging off the minor accidents of everyday driving. Through the 1960s, these imposing protective features grew increasingly ornate, often featuring dramatic wings, guards, and elaborate chrome detailing. Despite their apparent protective function, these rigid bumpers were a load on the vehicle and a reduced fuel efficiency. In the event of a collision, they absorbed the impact and transferred the energy directly to the vehicle's frame, causing devastating injuries. You would be lucky to only suffer whiplash. Federal regulations in the 1970s mandated shock-absorbing bumpers, gradually replacing steel with aluminum, rubber, and composite materials designed to crumple progressively during impact. Modern vehicles utilize integrated bumper systems hidden beneath body-colored covers, which prioritize safety, minimal design, and energy absorption in the event of a collision. Non-locking gas caps. Remember driving up to a gas station and telling the attendant to fill her up? Simply flip open the gas cover, twist off the cap, insert the nozzle, and pump away. Non-locking gas caps, which do not require a key to open, reflected a time when it was unimaginable that someone would try to tamper with these openings. Most early automobiles featured non-locking gas caps. Their flaw became apparent during the fuel shortages of the 70s when gas siphoning became a common practice. Yikes, you don't want to inhale gas fumes. Talk about hard times calling for desperate measures. Additionally, the EPA in the 80s monitored gas cap integrity using diagnostic systems tests and found that loose or missing caps contributed to fuel system failures and increased emissions. Modern vehicles feature locking tethered caps or capless systems with internal flaps that open only when a fuel nozzle is inserted, preventing theft, reducing emissions, and addressing both security and environmental concerns. Bias-ply tires. Remember when you went out for a drive and wondered if your tires could withstand a bump, rolling over glass, or navigating potholes? You rode with a spare tire in the trunk in case you might get a flat. Bias-ply tires carried vehicles through much of automotive history. Introduced by the Goodrich Company in 1915, these tires featured rubber-coated fabric plies that crisscrossed at 30-degree angles, creating a diagonal cross pattern that gave them their name. Manufacturers from Firestone to Goodyear embraced this construction method because it was economical to produce and provided excellent load-bearing capacity for heavy American cars. Unfortunately, bias-ply tires are plagued by numerous safety concerns. They had short tread life, poor high-speed stability, and a tendency to overheat on long journeys, which often led to flats and blowouts. Their flexible sidewalls allowed excessive movement during cornering, creating unpredictable handling that could lead to loss of control. Radial tires were introduced by Michelin in 1948, but were not widely adopted in the United States until the 1970s following the energy crisis. They eventually replaced the bias-ply tires by offering better fuel economy, longer tread life, and significantly improved handling, albeit with a firmer ride. Non-retractable seatbelts. Don't you hate fumbling with seatbelts? If you thought retractable seatbelts were a hassle, there were non-retractable seatbelts. They were simple straps that people didn't take seriously as they were more of a suggestion than a requirement. Even if you did use them and weren't adequately strapped in, you could be seriously injured or worse. Nash Motors introduced the first factory-installed seatbelts in 1949, but Volvo made them standard equipment in 1959. These early belts were static 2-point lap belts that required manual adjustment. They didn't retract when unbuckled and often ended up twisted on the car floor or trapped indoors. People didn't take them seriously as the primitive straps were rarely used throughout the 60s. They weren't widely implemented until the 70s when regulations finally mandated retractable 3-point belts with locking mechanisms. This innovation, along with public service announcements followed by the enactment of seatbelt laws, dramatically increased seatbelt use and subsequently reduced fatalities. Today, seatbelts are significantly more advanced than their predecessors. They feature pre-tensioners that instantly tighten during crashes and load limiters that prevent belt-induced injuries.
Our 2-point lap seatbelts are manually adjusted and are available with 9 different latches, including chrome, satin or black lift latch, GM plastic and metal logo.
Vintage car sunroofs. Have you ever wanted to drive or own a convertible but never had the chance? Perhaps you compromised having one with a sunroof on your sedans and coupes. It was a simple luxury that provided the wind-in-your-hair experience. These portals connect you to sunshine and fresh air. Oh, what a feeling. From 1939, car makers like Buick, Oldsmobile, Cadillac, and LaSalle offered vehicles with factory-installed sunroofs. However, they were not called that. The term was sunshine turret top. Very fancy. The early feature used a simple sliding metal panel that retracted into the roof, providing ventilation and comfort. Unfortunately, the seal exposed to the elements deteriorated, leaks occurred during rain, structural integrity was compromised, and driving at high speeds could result in panels flying off the car. Operating it was challenging as it required significant strength to use the hand crank. Of course, prolonged sun exposure without sun protection is dangerous. The electronic motorized sliding sunroofs began appearing in the 1960s. Moonroofs were introduced in the 70s. Today, there are numerous variations. Most feature sophisticated designs addressing nearly every shortcoming of their predecessors. Onboard fax machines. Okay, this one might be a stretch, but if you were traveling businessmen in Japan back in the 90s, you might have worked through communicating in long road trips with an onboard fax machine. It was cutting-edge technology that bridged the gap between car and office, allowing business execs to send and receive crucial documents without interruption. The 1991 Toyota Celsior and the 1993 Lexus LS400 were introduced in Japan with factory-installed fax machines as an option. They were mounted in the glove compartment or the center console and connected to cellular networks even at a time when cell phones were a luxury. Onboard fax machines never took off in America. Surprisingly, in 2003, a third-generation Audi A8 did offer a fax machine as an option in the center console. By this time, the technology was obsolete. These systems were designed for the car owner to use. It's safe to say it's not a good idea to use a fax machine while driving. If you did have a fax machine in your car, it was likely a portable fax machine connected to a car phone accessory. Television's entertainment. Did you ever drive your kids around in the 2000s and pop in their favorite DVD as soon as they were buckled in? The TV, VCR, or DVD combo ensured kids were entertained and you didn't have to hear another complaint. You might have expected this feature to be found in the 90s. However, Oldsmobile introduced the first factory-installed entertainment system in the 1998 Silhouette minivan. The first TV available in a car was in 1965 when Ford test sold Philco AutoVision TVs at Lincoln Mercury and Ford dealerships in the Great Lakes region. Ford acquired Philco in 1961 and was a supplier of car radios and other electronic devices. It was essentially a portable TV that hung over the front seat with a bracket, allowing occupants in the rear to watch. It was an all-transistor 9-inch CRT television with a 12-volt DC cord that was plugged into the cigarette lighter or a portable battery pack. A CRT television operating in such conditions would not end well in the event of a collision. Sales were low during the test sale, and the idea never made it to the mainstream. Perhaps it was a good idea. If you raised Gen X kids, you had to endure many "are we there yet" on long car rides and family road trips.
The family trip will never be the same. The Silhouette Premier by Oldsmobile, the first minivan with an audio-video entertainment system built right in.
There you have it. Do you agree with our list? Did we miss any? If you enjoyed this video, watch 12 useless car features from the 1950s.